Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here, back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio, and I get to bring back Gabriele Masili. When he was here the last time, he was the Chief Technology and I believe Digital Officer over at Microsoft, and now he is with a company called Granicus, which specializes in helping the government agencies, cities, municipalities, states, and even the federal government, and not just in the U.S., but governments around the world, helps them create better experiences for their customers who are citizens and constituents. And there's a lot of crossover between what he's doing in the government world and what we are doing in the private corporate sector, retail, whatever type of business you're in. So with that in mind, we're going to talk with him, and in just a moment, we'll do that. But first, a quick announcement. If you've got a question or a story that you want to share, please reach out to me on any of the social channels. I'm pretty much everywhere. Share the story there, and I will maybe share it here in my newsletter. And if you have a question, use the hashtag AskShep. And again, I'll answer the question there on the social channel, maybe on this show, maybe in my newsletter. And if you'd like to subscribe to my newsletter, please do so. Just go to www.hyken.com, and you can get the newsletter. And at the same time, you will also get the most recent version of our annual customer service and customer experience research, which has lots of stats, facts, and findings, and a few articles that will hopefully be beneficial for you. No charge for any of that. We want you to use it. We want you to create a better experience. We want to create a better experience for the world. All right, it's time to get into our interview with G. Masili. G, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Shep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're a repeat offender. And the last time we talked, you were with Microsoft, and you had quite a great job over there. And you were the, let's see if I'm not mistaken, you were the Chief Technology Officer. Is that correct?
Yes, I was the Chief Technology and Digital Officer for the services organization, basically across Microsoft.
Yeah, that's a big job. And we met at CCW, which is, the conference that I go to every year, actually 2 or 3 of them a year, but we were on the board of advisors together. And now you're with Granicus. And what makes Granicus interesting is that your customer experience and everything that you've focused on is no longer about a customer. It's about the citizen or the constituent of a government, whether it be the U.S., somewhere in Australia, the Middle East, Asia. So tell us a little bit about Granicus, because I'm fascinated, because I'm just going to throw this out. I think it's kind of funny, and then I'm going to let you talk. Every year in our annual survey with the general population of the U.S., we ask a question. Do you think the government provides a good customer experience? And the answer is only 18% say yes. So it's pretty much no.
Not surprised.
You're there to change the world, right?
That's our mission, indeed. I mean, Granicus is a global leader in the customer engagement and experience service sector. For the public sector, we work exclusively with the government and with the tourism industry. So we work primarily with the public sector, and we are empowering more than 30 billion digital interactions every year. We have 500,000 government professionals that are part of our network, and 330 million of subscribers from the general public that obtain into our communication and into our systems. We are very proud because we have an opportunity to contribute to improving the experience of everybody that works with the government across a multitude of geographies. We have a presence in US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, and we provide software, basically, and services and data and insights for government institutions and destination marketing organizations across all the entire spectrum, from the little city council up to the federal government in US. And we work primarily to provide a better experience, to help the government to provide better experience to their constituents, to their citizens, to their users, to their real customers. So that's what we do.
That's very interesting. So here we are in the U.S. and my survey is with the U.S. And by the way, you live on the West Coast in San Francisco, is that right? Or Seattle?
Actually, now I'm in Texas, Austin.
You're in Texas. I could tell by the accent. You moved to Texas. You're picking it up. You're from Italy originally, yes? And when did you come over to the U.S.?
10 years ago now.
10 years ago. Fantastic. And I just want to know your impression of the experience that you get from the government. I'm not going to ask you specifically what you think. That would not be fair. But I'd love to know what you think of what, and actually, I think it even went back to the Obama administration, leading into the Trump administration and the Biden administration, where they have this thought that they want to increase the experience or improve the experience that customers have. So they are doing some things such as creating a better digital experience, creating self-help experiences. You don't have to wait on hold as long. What do you think of what the U.S. government is doing? I imagine that you've got an inside track on what they've been doing.
I mean, of course, we track all the information that is available out there when it comes to public service. And then we have direct experience with thousands and thousands of customers, government customers we serve directly. And I admire the efforts that the U.S. government is putting into improving the experience, I gotta say, because as you properly mentioned, that is now several administrations that are focusing on GX. GX is government experience, and they put forward funding, investments, and policies to drive better government experience, again, across all the segments of the government itself. So there are certain federal programs that are aiming in that direction, but there are state programs, local programs that are focusing on the same thing. So when you look at it from a macro aspect and you look at the scale of this set of initiatives, there is no doubt that we are improving. I don't know when was the data point that you quoted about that 18% of constituents saying that they were happy with the experience. I'm pretty sure like 6, 12, 18 months before it was lower, because there is a constant progress that we are seeing. And there are more and more government institutions that are aware and they want to do better. So
yeah, they're adopting ideas, and ideally they're adopting your software at Granicus as well, which is great. I would love to think that it's getting better, and all they have to do is shake the reputation, which could take a while. And once the citizen, hence the customer, starts to have a consistently better experience, they'll no longer generalize the government is providing a less than expected level of service. And I just love what we're doing here. All right, let's get into what I really want to talk about, because in fact, you work with Granicus. You are really an expert in the customer experience space. And there's 3 areas that I want to focus on today, because you are truly well-versed in understanding the whole concept of personalization at scale, which is making customers feel like the company or the brand and even the government knows who they are. So let's start there.
It all comes down to trust. So when you look actually at what is the primary driver of good government experience is trust. And it is also the primary opportunity. So a lot of the work we do is to create better trust. And we create better trust between the government and their constituents by promoting better engagement. Engagement comes in a multitude of forms. When we look at the software and services we provide, they span across, from communication, websites, meeting and agenda management software, records management, and digital services at large. So we can touch a multitude of constituents from a lot of different angles. But there is one common thread in all of that, is the more you can be specific to what the constituent needs, the better is going to be that engagement. And that engagement is proven drives trust into the government institution. So personalization is at the center of all of that. What we do is we ask, first of all, the constituents if they can share information with us to help personalize the experience. What are you trying to achieve today? If you are visiting your city council website, are you trying to get a permit, as an example, or do you want to pay a fee? Or are you asking for information about the next community event? All those needs are different, and they will guide you through different paths. And the personalization of the experience will help you find what you need better. We do a lot of work with customer journeys, as an example. that's at the core of designing the experience, because as you will imagine, I mean, we apply human-centered design across our entire set of services, because we will look at the constituents in this case, and we try to identify what are the characteristics that will work for them. What works for an elder woman doesn't necessarily work for a millennial. It doesn't necessarily work for somebody that is tech advanced and just works every single day with technology. So we try to reach the constituents in multiple ways. Sometimes a set of posters is the right thing to do. Sometimes is a set of text messages or an app, and so on and so forth, as you can imagine. So that's what we do. We identify what are the constituent needs, we customize the experience based on those needs, and we try to design the journey that better fits those specific constituents. When we know them, when we don't know them, we ask them. And that's a very specific and interesting aspect of the government work. People is much more positive about providing information while they are on a journey to get a service from the government than they are in the private sector. So it is not uncommon that when you ask somebody, how can I help you and how can I make your experience better, they will provide you a lot of information to help actually define that experience in a way that is truly what they need. You don't always get that in the private sector, both, especially in the B2C.
I never thought about that, but in the B2C sector, if you're asking for information, there could be skepticism. The customer says, what are you going to use this for? If I tell you this, am I going to start receiving text messages 3 times a day for the rest of my life and I can't get out of it? Or is it going to be, but you're right with the government. But I still believe everything that you've talked about thus far applies to the private and business sectors as well. You mentioned, an elderly woman versus a young millennial. I know my mom, for example. It's amazing. I would say, Mom, all you got to do is go on Amazon. I mean, she passed away, but she was in her 80s. And I remember, even when she was in her 70s, you don't need to get in the store to get that one little thing. All you need to do is go to Amazon. She goes, I just don't feel comfortable going on there. Now, I get my license renewed. And that is another question we asked on the survey. Would you rather, what was the question? Would you rather call customer support or go to the license bureau to renew your license plates? I'd rather go to the license bureau and the license bureau was known for a bad experience. You had to go there. It's always crowded. You had to wait. Then you found out you missed a document. You got to go home and get it and bring it back. You know what my last experience was?
Mm-hmm.
It said, go online. I didn't have to leave my home. And like 6 minutes later, I was renewed.
Indeed. I mean, as I mentioned, across the spectrum of government experiences, the improvement is tangible. They are doing better and better and better in general. And of course, there is still plenty of opportunity because when you're starting so low, I mean, the path is long.
Well, my point is, I was about me doing it and versus my mom saying that about Amazon is I happened to be at the strip mall, the strip center where the license bureau is. I was going there. There's a little diner that's right next to it. And I was meeting somebody there. And I looked in, I said, why don't these people do it online? And then I looked at what the average age was. The average age was deceased. No, they were older though. They were older. So, I mean, and it gets to the point when people are comfortable with one way, you have to be careful and not eliminate what people are comfortable. Now, try to teach them the easier way, the better way. But hey, this is great. Here's what I want to do. I want to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk about feedback. And specifically, you have some innovative ways of collecting feedback. And then I want to talk about empowering employees to elevate the customer experience. All that and more. We are talking with the Chief Customer Officer at Granicus, my friend G. Masili. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography. And we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research, which, by the way, is sponsored this year by Ring Central, a leader in global communications. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio. We're talking with Gabriele Masili, also known as G. And we're talking about, well, we just talked about personalization. We've been talking about customer experience or citizen experience in the government sector, which I think there's a lot of parallels between what G does over at Granicus and what we need to be thinking about with our brands that we work for, the companies and our organizations that we work for. I want to get into feedback now. So, G, let's talk about, I have a line here that came directly from your PR department in your company or your communications company, and that is innovative ways to collect feedback. Feedback is a gift when we get it. It's how we use it that's really important as well. But let's talk about innovative feedback.
Yes. So, well, as I mentioned, when you ask a citizen, when you ask a constituent, usually as part of their journey, they are very willing to share information. And certainly they are not shy to provide feedback after the experience. They can do it during the experience, but certainly after, they're very happy to tell you how they feel about it. And that is a very powerful tool then to refine those experiences and to improve them constantly. Now, the beauty of our opportunity is that we work with thousands of government agencies across all levels of government. So we can connect those dots on behalf of those agencies. As an example, we can understand what is the general sentiment in a specific state by looking at the sentiment of the cities that are within that state, because we have, those are our customers. We can aggregate, anonymize, and aggregate the data and understand what is happening at the state level or at the federal level on certain topics. We can look at specific segments of the population and understand how they feel about a certain set of experiences. So the aggregation itself allows us to provide insights to our customers that are pretty unique. And the beauty as well is another slight difference between the government sector and the private sector is that there is no competition in government, actually. So one council and the neighboring councils, usually, they want to work together. They want to learn from each other. They want to share experiences with each other. So when we look at the feedback and we consider the feedback, not only the feedback from the constituents, but also the feedback from the government itself, we can then aggregate that information and use it to provide benchmarks. We have our annual surveys where we provide information that is standardized and allows councils, as an example, to understand how they are performing in terms of citizen experience compared to the other councils in the region. And what the other councils are doing as best practices can be freely shared. So that feedback loop is very virtual, actually. It closes and provides the best information so that anybody can then work to improve their experiences.
Yeah, I see a couple of differences between the corporate America, where everybody's a competitor, and the different, like you say, the local governments that instead of saying, well, let's try to do something better than the city or the town across the way or on the other side of the state, instead, they want to work together. And I almost feel like it's the same thing as, if you look at government, even though we are, 50 states, we're, cities within states, and that's just in the U.S. You've got other parts of the world. I realize that as well. But I start thinking about, how often do we need to put our competitive guard down and start to embrace information that other companies can provide about the general feeling of what's going on out there related to the experience they're having. You just mentioned something while we were talking. You said get feedback during the experience, not just after the experience. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. We have what we call Know Your Community. That is basically a set of feedback touch points that we disperse throughout the entire estate of technology that a certain government institution can provide. As an example, we can welcome you to a website and ask you one question. And then while you're working your way to get your permit, we can ask you a couple more questions spread throughout your journey. So we're not bothering you with a 20-question survey. We're asking you pointed questions while you are in the experience. And then we collect all those points throughout the customer journey and create a coherent analysis of what was your end-to-end experience in that point. We wrap it up with an end survey. We're going to follow up via email as an example and ask you 2-3 closing questions if you want to, of course. Otherwise, we won't. But in that way, we get to 10, 15, 20 data points between what we can observe the customer behavior is throughout their journey and what we can ask directly to the customer. And again, the customers are very willing to answer those questions. So in the end, we have a pretty clear picture of what was the experience. If you abstract one layer and now you anonymize all that data and you look at the entire community with all those data points, now we can understand what are the behaviors in the community, what the community is happy about and what the community is unhappy about. What are the experiences? It's like changing it, understanding what is your trash schedule, as an example. Is that clear? Everybody knows, are they happy or unhappy? Or when it comes to get a certificate, a birth certificate, can they do that properly, or is that an area of opportunity? If we abstract one layer further now, we can tell a certain council, a certain city, we can tell them, look, you have an opportunity to do better when it comes to your birth certificates. By the way, these are 6 examples by your neighboring cities where they are doing that very well. And here is how they are doing it. Let's work together to get you there.
Yeah. So give me an example of a question that we might ask in the middle of a process that would give us feedback that's usable. I mean, I'm thinking in my mind, is it something as simple as, do you understand everything up until this point that's needed? I'm not sure what a good question would be, but it would let us know at that point, did we give them the information? Is it crystal clear? Or are they confused? I mean, that's just what I'm thinking, but am I on track?
You are absolutely on track. It is contextual. So if you are already in the middle of let's step away from the web for a second. Let's talk about you receive a text from one of your certification authorities that you need to renew a license. So then we react to that text and say, okay, how can I do it? And you get a link to say, go here on the website so you can renew your driving license, as an example. This is the expiration date, etc. At that point, I may ask you, was it easy for you to get here? So, and I know you're coming from a text, but I'm asking you, was it easy for you to transition from the text to the website? Or I can ask you something about yourself, actually. I can ask you, do you want to answer some profiling information? So I can ask you, what is your gender? I can ask you, what is your age? And the reason why we ask those data points, again, when we anonymize and we aggregate, it's easier then to understand the demographic needs. And they change, of course, depending on the demographic. And in the middle of the journey, where you are 2-3 steps in, is a simple thumbs up, thumbs down. Are you happy with the experience so far? Ups or down, one click. And if it's ups, then we know. If it's not, then 2-3 steps later, we're going to ask you, why was it wrong? And what can we do to improve it next time? And surely enough, if you weren't happy, you're going to spend a minute to tell us why. And that's very important information to improve the entire journey.
Right. This reminds me, recently checked into a hotel. I've written about this before, and checked in, great front desk experience, very friendly person. I get up to my room, 5 minutes later, the phone rings, and it's the front desk person asking me, is everything okay in your room? Isn't it nice to let them know, you know what? No, my nightstand light is burnt out, or maybe there's dirty towels on the floor from the guest that was here before. By the way, that didn't happen, but I'm just saying, at that moment, if I share that information, they're fixing it while I'm here, not hearing about it after I left. Let me tell you why I'm not going to come back anymore. And if, so I think this is a great point. Get feedback during the experience, not just after the experience. And you'll have an opportunity to use that feedback to create a better experience before the whole experience ends.
Indeed, and you're touching on another very important aspect, is the opportunity to escalate the experience itself. So I can extract you from the experience that is not working for you and put you in touch with a representative from the city. And at that point, they're going to guide you, because you were not happy with whatever was going on. They're going to guide you and solve it for you. And guess what? At the end, you're going to have a very happy constituent rather than one that is disgruntled because they spent hours and hours trying to find something in the current.
Yep. This is great. All right. I have one other topic. We don't have a lot of time, and then I want to ask my final question, but give us a couple of thoughts on how we can empower employees to elevate the experience and make it even better for our customers, citizens, constituents.
Well, first of all, listening. So giving them the opportunity to listen in the customer exchanges so they know what the customers are telling directly. And for the one that are in front of customers, getting them the opportunity to channel that information back into the company so we can always react to whatever the customer is feeling. When it comes to improving the experiences, we literally test the experiences internally, of course, before deploying them to the customer. So we have our own people that can go through the experience and provide information. The beauty of our work is that everybody is a constituent. So every one of our employees is in the end, is one of the receiving hands of the services we provide in their city, in their county, in their state, and so on and so forth. So they know exactly how it feels to be part of
Oh my God. I never thought about that, but you know what? Wouldn't it? I just love that. We ask that executives, hey, peak time, we want you to call customer support with a question. We want you to experience how long you have to wait on hold and all the bad things. This is exactly the most perfect situation that every single employee, from the head of the government to the most recently hired, they're experiencing what it's like to do business with the government, and they have all their lives.
Exactly right. Frankly, the biggest opportunity we see right now in the government is that there are a lot of government entities that they don't have enough employees. They don't have enough people. After the big resignation in the COVID times, what happened is that a lot of those employees didn't come back, and the government is still struggling to recruit. When I talk with my government customers, the number one priority right now is hiring and find the right talent. So by the way, if you're listening to this and you have an interest in government work, most likely there is an open opportunity around you that you could go and tackle. And what we do as a company now, we complement that basically. So we try to help and support our customers, provide what we call managed services. So if you don't have enough employees in your experience department, we provide you a managed service, and we basically augment your capabilities, providing you the people and the expertise to do that work. Because we are design experts, we are government experience experts, so we can easily provide you the information you need and complement and augment basically your team, creating a virtual extension of your team. That is one of the biggest needs that we see at the moment, because despite all the good intentions and despite all the funding that we were discussing earlier in the conversation, there is still so many government entities that simply cannot get the stuff done because they don't have enough people to do it. And of course, digital transformation helps with that as well, because you need less people if you can deploy more technology.
So you're kind of like a BPO for the government.
To a certain extent, yeah. We're very specifically dedicated to government experience. So we provide managed services. It can go as deep as a county that is having a meeting with their board, and basically what we do, we manage that meeting virtually. We coordinate the cameras, we cut, we provide subtitles, captioning, translation, and everything else, so they don't have to do anything, and it's all happening from our teams behind the scenes. So, or we design complete experiences end to end, and we then configure the software, the systems, the data on behalf of our government customer so that they can provide the service to the constituent.
Fascinating. I had no idea a company like yours existed. So interesting. All right. We're at the very end of the interview. You know what question's coming. You answered this question once before. You were probably here on the show, 2-3 years ago, maybe longer. What is the one last piece of wisdom that you would like to share with us today? The one thing.
I would definitely say that the most important thing that we need as a community is to help provide information that can improve our experiences. So let's never get to the point where we feel that nothing can change when it comes to government experiences, because I can tell you there are thousands of people that are listening to the information you provide with the true intent to make it better for you. So provide that feedback, wherever is local government, wherever is your county, your state, any level, provide that feedback, because there is people listening and their job is to create better experiences with the help of companies like us.
Well, I hope that is actually the case, that they really do want to improve the experience. And as I look at what the U.S. government is doing with all of the digital work they're doing and how they're really trying to streamline and make it easier for us to get information, Social Security, IRS, Medicare, something as simple as getting a permit. I really like the direction we are headed. So, it's great to see you again. And thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thank you, Shep. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. And we will have another interview just as great as this one next week. Thanks for tuning in. Until that time, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.